Dr. Nolan Graves had treated countless bizarre cases: acid-spraying reptiles, self-healing quadrupeds, even a vicious spylopod that mimicked injuries to trick doctors, while serving aboard the interstellar station, Pharos Prime. But he'd never been called to another alien clinic for a case that had been explicitly rejected by its own specialists. The call had come through from a panicked station administrator, some insectoid bureaucrat, who'd barely managed to utter a few frantic words before slamming down the comm. Now Nolan stood in the coconut-clean operating hall, facing a cluster of alien medics hovering near a reinforced cage. Inside, the hulking beast lay huddled in the shadowed corner, its dark blue fur rippling despite its shivering. From its chest came a low, rumbling growl, its golden eyes sweeping over the onlookers with primal intensity. Chief Veterinarian Masri, a tall, four-armed reptilian stands, easily 2 feet taller than Nolan, strode forward. His scaly features tight with frustration. "Dr. Graves," he began curtly, "you were summoned." His gaze flicked to the beast. "Because we refuse to treat this." Nolan arched an eyebrow. "You brought me here just to say that?" Masri's forked tongue flicked out. "We called you because this is an apex Virac, the undisputed top predator of its homeworld. It's genetically engineered to kill." He glared at the caged creature. "And it's wounded." "Okay," Nolan said evenly. "So why not treat it?" Masri scoffed. "Because it's dangerous." "Yeah, no kidding," Nolan replied, stepping closer to the cage. He studied the creature's twitching muscles and the thin stream of dark fluid dripping down its hind leg. "It looks wounded. It's been hurt for at least 3 cycles." He paused as its eyes followed his movement. "And desperate predators are more lethal than healthy ones." Masri huffed. "The Virac never submits. If it's weak, it means it's finished." Nolan crouched, eyes locked on the beast. "See how it's shifting its weight? If it wanted to kill me, it would have already struck." A feathered assistant let out a startled screech. "You can't be serious. You'd send him in?" Masri fixed Nolan with a firm look. "Let him prove it." He signaled, and with a hiss the containment field powered down, the cage door clinking open ominously. Nolan stepped inside slowly, hands open. The Virac growled low but didn't lunge. Nolan crouched and spoke softly. "Hey, big guy. Looks like you've been through hell. I'm not here to hurt you." He withdrew a small container of dried meat, the emergency ration he always carried, and set it near the creature. The Virac hesitated, then lunged forward, grabbing the meat in a single swift motion. Nolan let out a small smile. "Good boy." The beast relaxed slightly. Nolan nodded to Masri. "First step is trust. Now, let me look at that leg." The Virac tensed as Nolan inspected the wound, then allowed him to apply a numbing agent, clean it, and place an antibiotic patch. Nolan murmured, "Not as bad as it could be. Infection's started, but nothing's broken. You dragged this injury long enough." The creature exhaled a low rumble, more frustration than rage. Nolan grinned. "Being hurt sucks." Once treatment was done, Nolan pushed back and met the Virac's gaze. Its wild stare softened to curiosity. "See, wasn't so bad." Masri stared, disbelief etched across his face. "You're either the bravest fool I've ever met, or the luckiest." Nolan shrugged. "A bit of both, probably." The Virac's rumble was low, gratitude, Nolan thought. "I think we'll manage just fine." Masri let out an exasperated groan. "There's more. Problem is the aftermath." Nolan raised a brow. "Recovery?" Masri paced. "Viracs don't linger. They retreat to the wild to heal. They do not remain near others." Nolan gestured casually. "Looks like this one is." Masri's eyes darkened. "If it's treated during extreme vulnerability, it can imprint on whoever helped it. Claim them as part of its territory." Nolan's stomach tightened. "You're saying it thinks I belong to it now?" Masri nodded. "Yes, and once imprinted, it will not leave your side." The Virac stirred, one golden eye opening as it watched Nolan. "Well," Nolan breathed out, "that's a development." Before either could say more, a station-wide alert chimed. "Unscheduled docking in Bay 14. Unauthorized vessel arriving. Security teams report boarding." Masri breathed relief. At least it's still contained. Then the station shook violently. The cage door slammed open. The Virac rose, alert and immense. Nolan quickly raised his hands. "Nobody move." The beast strode forward, silent and massive, then pressed its head gently against Nolan's chest. Masri choked on a noise. "It is free." Gunfire erupted from nearby corridors and a wounded security officer burst in. Pirates? They're boarding the station.
The Varak's stance stiffened. Masri insisted, "We must evacuate." Nolan shook his head. "We help." The Varak growled. Nolan muttered, "If it's part of my territory, maybe it'll help me protect it." Masri pressed his lips tight. Nolan stepped into the corridor and armed, relaxed hands raised. 3 armed pirates stopped dead. "I'm just a doctor," Nolan said. A heavily armored pirate snarled. "What kind of doctor?" Nolan shrugged. "The kind that keeps things alive." They laughed until the Varak silenced them. In seconds, 2 pirates fell, unconscious or worse. The leader dropped her weapon and backed off. Nolan nodded coolly. "I'd surrender if I were you." Masri burst in, aghast. The station's security squads flooded back, trapped behind rerouted security. A reptilian officer said, "Were you a civilian vet who just unleashed a battle predator to stop invaders?" Nolan offered a thumbs up. "Yep." The officer stared at the Varak curled at Nolan's feet. "Station policy. Dangerous wildlife must be isolated." Nolan arched an eyebrow. "You gonna tell her that?" The officer wisely shut up and retreated. Masri groaned. The Varak nudged Nolan with its head. "Looks like she's bonded," Nolan said casually. Masri ground out. "This is a disaster." The Varak's low rumble was almost amused. Nolan scratched behind her ear. "Friends can come from odd places," he said. Masri covered his face. 2 days later, Nolan sat drowsily at his tiny quarters desk when warm breath brushed his neck. He opened his eyes to find the Varak now named Sable curled in the corner, golden eyes watching him. The wound on her flank had fully healed, her movements graceful. She followed him everywhere now, regular protocol for the station to give them wide berth. Nolan yawned. "You hungry?" Sable huffed gently, resting her chin on her paws. "Not yet," he murmured, gazing at her. He'd come to Varos Prime expecting to treat rare alien species. Instead, he ended up with an apex predator as his personal guardian. "Well," he said softly, "life's weird." Sable flicked an ear. Nolan smirked. "Proving people wrong suits you, huh?" A satisfied rumble. "Nailed it," he sighed, closing his eyes. And for the first time in ages, Nolan felt he'd found where he belonged.